TV or finish your homework and you can have a half hour on computer games.
Definitely a good idea, especially entertainment. You know, rewarding, entertainment is a kind of a dessert. And you sort of, you do your chores, you're a good citizen at home, you do good things you do whatever extracurricular things you do, and you can have your entertainment time, but don't make that the center of your life. Unless it also has other things. I mean, lots of non-entertaining things could also be fun.
Okay, there's 2 more questions from the phone. One was asking if there's a recommended time limit for kids to spend on computers, but I think you have that broken out by age.
I think that's sort of broken down in the handout. I think the older they are, the more time they will spend, but the richer the time and the more diverse the time. I would not, and again, it has to be balanced. It has to be a balanced diet. For as long as you have control, you can teach them how to use these media and to help themselves have a better life. And so balance is very important. Yes. Any more questions?
Older children frequently have their own computers and sometimes resist parental involvement. Is there a way to tell them when it becomes intrusive?
When parental involvement becomes intrusive or the kids' use of the computers becomes, I don't quite follow.
It looks like they're asking how to tell them to, or basically how to be involved without being without being intruding. Intrusive.
Well, you know, older kids have already had years of lousy media diets because we haven't been as diligent and as careful. So they already have these habits, and they're harder to convert them into a more healthier way, especially when they're teenagers and already know everything there is to know about the world and you don't know much of anything. So, but still, a lot of kids, teenagers are still reasonable people in a lot of ways, and there are ways to explain to them that this is part of your responsibility at home, and that their media life is an important part of your responsibility in raising them, and that you think that should be balance and there should be a balanced diet, and as long as they're going to live in your house, they're not going to, drink alcohol or smoke weed or do things online that you don't want them to do. And that's just the way it is. And they may not like it and they may fight you on it, but most kids will go along with you. And they may sneak around and do things that behind your back, but that's just the way it is with kids, teenagers. We're not raising robots, we're raising people who are experimenting how to have their own life and to be creative people and run their own lives. Any more?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a question. As a parent, I try to guide my children on everything. Just like you said earlier, that we try to feed them nutrition food, as well as we try to feed their brain with the right information. When they were young, they follow my guidance well. But as they get older, they might feel like they are being under control, and they rebel. So how would I give the guidance that my children wouldn't feel they're being controlled?
This is a very generic question that you can apply to almost anything. Bedtimes, food diets. The fact is that as children get older, they become less compliant with the letter of what we ask them to do. And they become more individuals in their own right. And in fact, sometimes they assert their individuality by taking positions that are that are contrary to what you would approve, like having spiky purple hair or stuff like that. And it's part of the whole dynamic of growing up, and it's part of what all mammals do. They play, they experiment with risky behaviors that prepare them for life alone. And sometimes they step over lines. So the problem that the kid is working on, is trying to solve, is how do I grow up to be an individual who's not just a clone or robot or something my parents want me to be, but at the same time, how do I maintain my relationships with my parents, and how do I use the values and the kinds of the good stuff my parents gave me over the years. And that balance is never perfect. Sometimes they are one way and sometimes the other. And the same with parents. Sometimes we are one way or sometimes the other. But as long as you try to keep a nice, steady course and see things in a helpful way rather than, and avoid as much as you can power struggles. But when there's a power struggle, and then when there is a power struggle, and the kid gives you very few options other than to really come down on them, then you do that. But you explain to the kid that he put you or she put you in this situation. They had choices they made, and the choices led to this situation. So it's a parenting question about how do you raise children in general. Okay? I know I don't have magical answers, but life isn't that easy. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Two last things from the phone. One is a comment from an IBMer that says you can restrict what your kids view on the web by creating those settings in Firefox or Internet Explorer. Using Windows XP, you can create separate user accounts for each child, then restrict programs and websites they can visit. That was just a comment. And then another question here. Don't you think it's incumbent upon us as parents to pull them away from digital media and create non-digital family time? I have younger, age 8 to 10 children, and we get Subway sandwiches and take a football to the park.
I think both comments are very valid. And I mean, the second question is really not a question, it's a statement. I think the first statement is valid. And I don't think you need to say more. That the second one is also very valid. And there's more to life than media. Media have a kind of magical quality, and I believe that their newness both scares us all and fascinates us all. And I think that as time goes on, they're going to be less, I remember when TV first came out, color TV, oh my God, the world really has color in it. And people would watch more TV because it was color. And so we as human beings, there's a large picture as we evolve, and this is a piece of it. This is just a piece of it that we're moving through, and the task to do is to just keep it steady and keep it going in a way that we know works, and not to get too scared and be positive.
Thanks everyone for coming. There's a feedback form that you received on your way in, if you could just drop that with Janet on your way out. Thanks.
Well, thank you for having me.